Good evening. A man who was paraded through Witham High Street with a sign on him saying thief wants compensation. Mark Gilbert says he hasn't been able to work since because of the trauma.
This photo made national news. It captured the moment Mark Gilbert was made to walk down a busy Essex street with a sign around his neck saying thief. An accusation he effectively admitted when he later accepted a police caution. After his humiliating ordeal here in Witham High Street, Mark Gilbert now wants compensation, saying he's been unable to work for 2 years because of the trauma and stress he suffered. So he's suing his boss, Simon Creamer, the man who draped the sign over him, for a little under £50,000.
I hope that my legal team will be able to negotiate with Mark Gilbert's legal team to settle this matter without it having to go to court, which would take many thousands, many months, and cost me many thousands of pounds.
Do you now regret what you did with the sign?
No.
There's huge support for Mr. Creamer on a social media website, and little sympathy in Witham for Mr. Gilbert's compensation claim.
He's a thief. Not entitled to anything. He should go to jail for it, not be compensated.
Well, I think it's absolutely disgraceful, and I also think it's a good idea to do that round his neck and put him in the street so that everybody can see, how he's behaved.
But for Mr. Creamer, this may yet prove to be an expensive form of retribution. Gareth George, BBC Look East.
The Labour leadership candidate Ed Miliband launched his campaign in the east of England today. He addressed the party faithful at meetings in Cambridge and Norwich. In the general election, Labour was wiped off the political map in Essex, Suffolk and Norfolk. They now have no MPs in East Anglia.
We need to understand where we went wrong. I think people lost a sense of what Labour was for and what we stood up for. I think we need to learn those lessons and we need to get back in touch with people. But there's no substitute for going out and meeting people, talking to them about why we lost, and that's what I'm doing today.
A parish council in Suffolk is having to pay out thousands of pounds to get just 2 streetlights fixed. The council at Glemsford is blaming health and safety rules and says the cost is ridiculous.
In Glemsford, gags about how long does it take to change your bulb prompt a wry smile, because getting 2 footway lights fixed has proved both complex and costly. After 3 years of wrangling, they've finally got the quote, and it's £8,000.
It seems a ridiculous amount of money, and I wish there was another way. But our hands are tied. We've got to fix the lights, one way or another, and this seems to be the only way that it's going to get done.
The council says contractors came out to check them, but the power cables overhead posed a safety risk. Then it was decided the lights were so old they couldn't be repaired and would need to be replaced. Locals say the lack of lighting is putting elderly people especially at risk. This path leads to the school hall, which hosts numerous events.
If you come to a meeting here in the evening, you have to go out into the dark, and the next street light is a long way down on the left, so it's quite dangerous.
As the lights belong to the parish council, it's the one which must foot the bill. The repairs will be carried out by the county council and EDF.
The work's due to get underway here in a fortnight. It'll mean that finally, hopefully, these lights will be working again for the first time in, well, more years than anyone here can remember. But the cost of the bill represents a fifth of the parish council's annual budget. Future expenditure may now have to be reined in. Kevin Birch, BBC Look East, in Glemsford.
There's been a warning that the parched countryside is still at severe risk from fire. It took nearly a week to put out one blaze, which tore through nearly 20 acres of trees at Hevingham Heath in Norfolk. Despite recent rain, woods and heathland are still bone dry.
People are very welcome to walk in the forest, and we particularly pleased to see them, but please don't light fires, campfires. You may think it's out, but what you've done is left an ember, and nobody can tell how long that will take to come up again. So basically, you're welcome to come, but don't light fires.
A builder from Essex, thought to be the youngest man in Britain to be diagnosed with breast cancer, has died. Nick Avery from Southend was 28. Look East filmed him as he campaigned to raise awareness of breast cancer in men. He had a mastectomy to remove a tumour 4 years ago. More than 1,300 mourners were at Norwich Cathedral this afternoon to celebrate the life of the broadcaster Roy Waller. A household name in his native Norfolk, he died earlier this month and was described today as a broadcasting legend.
Few local radio presenters could fill a cathedral. This was Roy Waller's final show. and the place was packed.
Roy was part of Norfolk life, and we shall miss him dreadfully. We have the opportunity of giving thanks to God for his remarkable life and extending our sympathy to Sylvie and her family in their grief and their loss.
Over 3 decades, Roy ruled the BBC Radio Norfolk airwaves with a daily show that appealed to all ages, a weekly country music programme and football commentary as the voice of Carrow Road.
Roy will be remembered forever with great affection by many, but none greater than his friends that regularly listen to him from Carrow Road. Sylvia, we will remember him.
A proud moment when he was appointed Sheriff of Norwich 2 years ago. A tribute today from the man he called his driver.
To many, Roy was a hero. To the lonely, he was a comfort. To the sports fan and enthusiast, and to the fundraiser an inspiration. But to most people, he was simply a friend.
As his assistant, Dolores, Roy Waller's wife Sylvie played a huge part in his programme's success.
Roy is that very special thing, and always will be, a radio legend. Ladies and gentlemen, Roy Waller.
His jingles referred to him as probably the daftest broadcaster in the world. Without doubt, one of the most loved. Kim Riley, BBC Look East at Norwich Cathedral.
And there are pictures and tributes to Roy on the BBC Norfolk website. Go to bbc.co.uk/Norfolk. There'll be more news from Look East at 10:30, but for now it's back to Stuart, who's live at the Olympic Park in Stratford.